FN Five-seveN MRD. True with Guns America, the FN Five-seveN is a modern classic that everybody, no matter what kind of a shooter they are, whether they're a plinker, self-defense enthusiast, law enforcement, military, should be interested in having in their collection. We're going to talk about why. So back in 1990, NATO, the military organization, wanted to replace the 9mm NATO round. They wanted something with higher velocity, less recoil. They had a number of criteria that they wanted met, and FN stepped up and came out with the Five-seveN 28. Originally, they chambered it in the FN P90, and it was adopted by military, special forces, law enforcement. It's used in the fight against terror. And a few short years later, in 1998, FN came out with the FN Five-seveN pistol to go along with the P90. Used the same exact round, used a double stack magazine that was very much similar to an AR-15 mag, and it loads similarly. Holds 20 rounds, so a lot of capacity for a small magazine. It was actually really a lot of ammo for its day. Let's talk about the cartridge for just a second. So this Five-seveN cartridge, which is right here, this is the FN Five-seveN by 28, does not have a parent cartridge. FN came up with this on their own. Just for comparison purposes, this is a 9mm, this is a 22 mag, this is 17, and this is of course a 5.56, that's an M193. As you can see, it is the same diameter bullet. It is a .224 caliber bullet, so it's substantially less in size to a 9mm, but it is got a lot more powder capacity than, say, something like a 22 Magnum. So we chronographed this and checked it out, and we were averaging 1,700 feet per second out of a handgun, which is screaming for a 40 grain bullet. Now, if you were to use a lighter grain bullet even than 40, obviously your velocities are going to go up. But that's the story there with the history of the round. Since then, it's been adopted by lots of law enforcement agencies. It's been used in terror situations. It's been used in hostile rescue situations. There's some actual real advantages to a small, light, fast bullet like this in home defense situations, because it's less likely to over-penetrate. It goes really fast, but it's less likely to go through lots and lots of sheetrock or a heavy barricade that's more likely to stop. Also less ricochet issues, even than 9mm, for example. So having been adopted by the U.S. Secret Service kind of really put the FN Five-seveN pistol on everyone's radar, and collectors, shooters, hunters, all kinds of people really started jumping on board with the FN or with the Five-seveN round. It's really, really flat shooting. It's really, really inherently accurate. It's easy to shoot because it's low recoil. It's such a small bullet that there just isn't much recoil happening. So we're going to run through some of the features on the newest version of the FN Five-seveN MRD, which is what I'm holding here in my hand. So it's available in both black and flat dark earth. And this newer version, I'm going to just pop the mag just for safety reasons here. This newer version comes optic ready, and it's one of the better optic ready setups that there is, meaning you can mount most red dots to this handgun, which is actually awesome. So whether you want to do Leupold Delta Point Pro, which is what a lot of special forces are running right now, or whether you want to run a Trijicon RMR sort of footprint, which is what most of our law enforcement's running, it'll fit. So a lot of the stuff from Holosun, pretty much anybody making good quality red dot these days will fit on this Five-seveN with the adapter plates. This actually has a tall enough front sight to run suppressor if you wanted to. Have to swap the barrel out for something threaded. It's an adjustable rear. It's adjustable for both windage and elevation. And the other cool thing about this is while these are not tritium sights, they do glow. So if you did have some need for having your sights, being able to see them in the dark, you could pre-charge them with a flashlight or a light, and they would, you would be able to see them. Now that's questionable. If a bad guy woke you up at 4 in the morning, how helpful that would be. But at that point, maybe you would have put a light on your 1913 Picatinny rail on the bottom, so it'll handle any sort of light or laser, and you wouldn't need that feature anyway. A couple other things here. It's got great grip texture. It's got these lines on the back. It's got dots It's got stippling on the sides, and there's just a lot going on here as far as texture. It's undercut under the trigger here. The trigger up here is squared off with serrations. Something that I find absolutely odd, and it's been this way since they designed the gun, is the fact that the safety is up here, and as you can see, you have to use a finger to operate it. So it's not super intuitive to me. I've been sort of a fan of thumb safeties, you know, just because that's what I have grown up shooting. But that's where the safety is, and it is ambi, so that's on this side as well. And I don't know that necessarily, maybe it makes more sense to use your left thumb to operate it, but that's where the safety is. This is actually a single action hammer fired pistol. So when you pull this trigger, which by the way, it won't let me unless I put a magazine in it. When you pull this trigger though, you get quite a bit of resistance on the pre-travel, and then it comes to a pretty hard wall. There's some creep, and then there's a really crisp break, and that is actually the hammer inside. So this is single action only, and this is the actual mechanism here is it's a delayed blowback. So it's not just a straight recoil operated blowback, it is a delayed blowback because of how high velocity this stuff can handle. Otherwise the slide would just, I think, probably beat itself to death. So that's the story there. As you can see, there's a 4.8-inch barrel, and it is quite thin, which adds to how little the gun weighs. The entire gun only weighs 25 ounces, and but the barrel is very thin, but these are extremely accurate. So it's 4.8-inch barrel. The slide is steel, but it's completely encased in plastic. So sorry, did I say encased? Maybe covered would be the better word. So there's a metal slide in here, but this is all plastic over the top of it. So when you touch this, even after doing a whole bunch of shooting through this gun, the slide never got hot, and that has something to do with the polymer all over the top of it. So when you first touch this, you're kind of like, whoa, this seems cheap. There doesn't seem to be any metal on this anywhere, and you're not wrong. There's really no exposed metal on the whole gun. The only place you can even see metal you look at is right here over the ejection port, and where you're in there looking at that barrel. But the slide is metal, and it's just got this polymer covering over the top of it. Now, I'm sure part of the reason is that these super light 40-grain bullets going fast need to have the slide lighter, and they don't want to have too much metal there, but they needed it to sort of fill out the gun. So I'm just speculating, I don't know, but that's what the gun's got going on. 20-round mags, comes with 3 of them, double stacks. They have witness marks, so you know how much ammo's in them. They're easy to load, especially compared to a traditional handgun. They're a lot like loading an AR-15, to be completely honest. Slide itself has serrations in the front, in the back. There's kind of a hook back here for people that like to pinch. The slide itself is relatively easy to work, manipulate, rack. The slide release is just on the left side, and you activate it by simply pushing down with your thumb. Magazine release can be switched, is my understanding, but it comes from the factory set up for right-handed shooter. So the FN Five-seveN, it's my understanding, has now been adopted in over 40 countries. NATO uses it. There's over 300 agencies, militaries, law enforcement, special forces groups, government groups like Secret Service that have now adopted the FN Five-seveN and regularly use it in certain situations. In my opinion, it's really cool. It's one of those modern sort of classic handguns that I don't know what I actually need it for, but I want one, right? And it's actually fun to shoot, low recoil, it's great to train people on. So I want to know from you guys, is this something that you'd ever purchase? Is this something that you'd ever buy? It's been completely reliable in my testing. It's been super accurate. Had no problem hitting targets way out there with it. I think it's unique. Tell us what you guys think in the comments. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you on the next video.